Good morning, everybody. Okay, so what they didn't mention in the introduction is, in addition to this, I also sing in a rock band. And it doesn't work if I don't have the audience with me. So, good morning, everybody. Thank you. Um, it's such a privilege to be here. And over the next 12 to 15 minutes, I'll tell you a little bit about my journey and how it relates to what I do now, and perhaps some of you will be able to resonate with it. I was someone like you um, in the year 1997, 98. That was when I graduated from 12th standard, and I think some of you are PU students, so that's the age group. And when I decided to study law, which is my profession, it wasn't this cool profession that some of you aspire to today. In those days, in India, what it meant to be a lawyer, especially if you were a first generation lawyer, was to really, in terms of our imagination in India, it was you see people with advocate stickers and selling stamp paper in Mayo Hall. And really, that was what the common knowledge was to study law and what it meant to be a lawyer. So, people coming from a conservative South Indian family, you either aspire to be an engineer or a doctor, and otherwise, you were generally considered to be a loser, right? So, when I chose to study law, it was a very unconventional decision in 1998. And I'll give you a reason and a small journey through why I chose to study law. I was blessed to go to an educational institution that gave me opportunities to really help me explore what my strengths were as a human being. And I also had the blessing of a supportive family, which allowed me the freedom to be able to explore what I was good at. And I think something for all of us to really think about when we're making big decisions. You're going to be making big decisions about which college to join, which career to pursue, and which girl or boy to hitch your life's wagon to. And these are all, big decisions. And I would say the third is probably the most important decision. And when you make these decisions, it's really important to make these decisions yourself. It is not your aunties and uncles in your family WhatsApp groups. It is not. These have to be your decisions. And the only person who can make that decision and who's qualified to make that decision is you, because you know yourself best. And so, really, educational institutions have to be about creating processes and an environment where you are able to you are able to discover who you are. And so I was blessed to go to one of these institutions. I studied at the Bishop Cotton Boys School, Bangalore, where I was able to really explore all the things that today make me who I am. And in school, I wasn't really known for academics. I was a fairly average, and I would say below average student. But I'll tell you what I did excel at. I would excel at public speaking. I would excel at elocution. I was the captain of the school cricket team, the Cottonian Shield team. I was the lead vocalist in my school band. And so these opportunities helped me to understand who I was, and I was really blessed to have teachers at that time who made me believe and helped me realize that just because I was excelling in some things, it didn't mean that I was going to be good at everything else. But by the same token, because I was failing in some things, it didn't mean that I was not a world champion inside. And I think every one of us is a world champion. Every single one of us is a world champion. And I'm delighted to share this morning with incredibly resilient fellow speakers who will each demonstrate to you, how special they are. And all of these things couldn't have been happened couldn't have happened if you didn't have a few people to believe in you. And which is why I think teaching is the most important profession in the world, especially the teachers who are here. And I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for complete luck on my part and the incredible foresight by some teachers that came into contact in my world. One, when I joined Bishop Cotton's, I was in the 5th standard, and I came from a very small school, and it was very, very intimidating when I actually walked into class because, everybody seemed to be bigger, they knew more, they were confident, they were more boisterous. And on the very first day, my class teacher pulled me out, spent half an hour with me during the lunch break, found out about me, and made sure that the first competition they had was elocution, and she made sure I could participate in that. And 5th standard, going to a new school, that opportunity, nobody knows you, everybody already has their groups of friends, and it's actually quite a daunting task. And suddenly, I was called to perform at the elocution competition, and I still remember the poem. It was "O Captain, My Captain," and just the belief that the teacher had in me, I exploded. I didn't know I had that in me, and I won at 5th standard. And suddenly the whole world changed for me. Because I'm still small, but I was really small, smallest in my class. And I realized that my voice was much bigger than my personality and my stature. And finding my voice at 5th standard was because of that one teacher, Mrs. Malini Kamath. So if this video goes out at some point, I hope she sees this and realizes, the impact she had in my life. The second person who had an impact was 6th standard, PT class. We all have physical training PT class. And we were encouraged to play all kinds of sports. And those days we didn't have coaching or anything. And I was playing cricket in PT, right? It's a half an hour class. And the Bishop Cotton's cricket team is now, but then even more so. It was really the pinnacle of school, sports, competitive team sports in Bangalore City. St. Joseph's and Bishop Cotton's had a very famed rivalry to play cricket, and being on the cricket team was the biggest thing. And it was a school in those days of 4,000 students to make the first 11. And I was just playing the PT class, and there was this elderly PT master, Mr. Shankar, who came and said, "I want to see you play again." I was just playing. This is PT class. He watched me and he said, "Tomorrow morning I want you to come for nets at 7 a.m. The next year I was leading the school cricket team. It was because of that one teacher who saw potential, believed, and gave that opportunity. If that didn't happen, I wouldn't have ended up leading the school cricket team and also the state under 16 cricket team as an opening batsman. And it was Mr. Shankar who told me, and I, again, was the smallest in my cohort of, in the school team. And I think I hit one of the biggest sixes. The ball, I don't know if you know of Residency Road. I hit a six which broke a window at Devta Plaza on the other side of Residency Road. And I must have been 4 feet 10 or 4 feet 11. That told me that strength comes from timing and self-belief, not in brute force. And I'm sure, we have Wing Commander who will tell you about his journey in the NDA. And I'm sure he'll support me in this. It's not size. It is timing, self-belief, confidence. So it was no surprise that eventually when I went to the London School of Economics, and it's one of the largest universities in the world, most prestigious universities in the world. And in those days, it wasn't like now. It was very difficult to get in. Only, from every country, you had 2 people who would get into the LLM program. And I was one of 2 from India. But I had incredible self-belief that I could do it because of Mrs. Malini Kamath, Mr. Shankar. who saw a small boy with no confidence and said, let's see, maybe there is something in them and they see that unspoken voice that you have, or the unseen strength that you have as an individual. And that self-belief, that self-confidence that institution gave is what eventually made me who I am today. At the London School of Economics, I wanted to participate in something called a moot court. I don't know how many of you know about it. When you go to law school, you'll know what a moot court is. The most prestigious moot court in the world, and I wanted to participate in that. So I enrolled in a class. It was run by the WTO, the moot court, by the World Trade Organization. And so I enrolled in the international trade law class with the hope that, I can be in that class and then get selected for this competition. The orientation for LSE is a common orientation. There must have been, 3,000 students in that orientation. I sat in the Peacock Auditorium, which is the Peacock Theatre, which is LSE's own theatre in the West End, for the orientation. And I had a cup of coffee with me, and I spilt it just when I sat, and spilled on the person next to me. And because of that, we were forced to obviously apologize and then make small talk. And during the course of that small talk, we realized he was from Brazil, this guy called Renato Gomes. And he had joined LSE and wanted to go to the trade law course because he wanted to participate in the same moot court. What are the chances? What are the chances from around the world? And so the whole orientation, we were talking about this, and then by the end of the day, then we continued and we had coffee and some other beverages in the evening, and really became close friends. And by the time we got into the first class, we had already decided we were going to be teammates for the moot court. 6 months later, we got selected to represent LSE at the moot. We competed against Oxford, Cambridge, Durham University to represent England at the World Finals at Geneva. And in Geneva, we beat New York University to be world champions, 2 of us. That, again, couldn't have happened without the self-belief that we had as young people. But you see something else that connects all 3 things? I would say that it's God's grace. Because none of these things I had actually worked for. I had it in me, but still, I hope all of us have the humility to know that, there are things out of our control. To have been picked by a teacher, to have been picked by a PT master, to have bumped into somebody. These are actually, when you think of it, they're not coincidences. And it's so important for us to remember that, to just understand our humility and our humanity, to know that no matter what we have, be humble, because you've had incredible opportunities that maybe if somebody else had, they would have done far better than you. So always, I would ask, I don't like to give advice to young people, but be humble. Because any one of those things, if they didn't happen, it would have been a different world. And similarly, you may be world champion. I ended up working in some of the world's largest law firms. You may have everything. But again, remember, you really are not in control. When I was 32, I was diagnosed with colon cancer. At the age of 32, this was in 2012. When I was at the peak of my career, I was working in Hong Kong at one of the world's largest law firms, and this happened. And so for me, that was the 4th teacher. The first, if I would, sort of look at it as individuals, one was Mrs. Malini Kamath, second was Mr. Shankar, third was meeting Renato Gomes, and 4th was my friend colon cancer. Because that experience was the biggest blessing in my life. It taught me to surrender. to know that, and if people tell you that somebody fought cancer, I think they don't know what they're talking about. It's not in your control. It's really God's grace. How you respond to it is in your control. You can either respond with depression and dejection, or say, bring it on, and let's see what we can do with this. It was the biggest blessing for me, because that day I decided that I'm going to live every day like it's the last day that I have to live, which means living life to the fullest in everything that you do. It also gave me a sense of a higher purpose and a calling, which made me come back to India in 2016 to set up 2 educational institutions. One is the National School of Journalism, which I'm very proud of, and second is the Bangalore School of Law and Justice that is launching this year. It is designed to provide an environment so that people can have the opportunities that I had. To have people who would be able to identify talent, who would give people an opportunity, who don't see the small size or the insecurity, but see the potential inside. And to provide all the opportunities and an environment where we can produce world leaders. And so, I would leave you with just these thoughts. One, never underestimate the power of your voice. And all of you have that voice inside you. It could be public speaking, it could be sports, it could be anything. Second, never feel weak. If you have timing, self-belief, you can be incredibly strong, physically, emotionally, spiritually, incredibly strong. Third, be humble. Be humble and know that you're really not in control of your life. And be humble, so when you see the world around you, be alive to the possibilities that you've had. And be the person who's also looking. You be the Malini Kamath and you be the Mr. Shankar who looks at people. So whether when you become a CEO of a company, when you're working in your team, don't look at everybody critically. Look to see what is that spark that they have. What is their strength? And their strength may be very different from my strength. Many leaders tend to be harsh on their team because they expect everybody to be like them. You have to understand different people each of us has been uniquely and beautifully made. Each of us. And it's really important for us as leaders to be able to recognize the beauty and the inherent worth of every human being. And I do hope with those sentiments that the institutions that we are building are designed really to bring out and maximize the possibilities of creating a generation of people who are public spirited. And for me, the fourth blessing, which was cancer, the biggest blessing for me was knowing that my life cannot be only about providing for me and my family, but it has to be to serve a higher purpose. And that really is what it means to be public spirited. Thank you and have a great day ahead.